Okay, hello everyone. We're so happy to have Aileen Medalla with us, the author of The King of Pop and I, a Filipino teacher's travel memoir with Michael Jackson and his children, a story of hope, faith, and gratitude. That is the full title. I wanted to make sure I said it at least once for everyone. We are basically graced with Eileen's presence today. This is someone who actually had um, front row access um, to Michael Jackson's life. And it's incredible because she chronicles her time with him. And these are little known years to a lot of people, even us as fans. But I'm just so pleased that we get the chance to talk to her one on one. So we know that Aileen was a foreigner in the Kingdom of Bahrain, and her life changed when she got a mysterious phone call for an interview, a phone call that would have a profound and lasting impact on her life forever. And isn't that just so typical of Michael? Everything happens magically, and there's always a little bit of magic and mystery. So we're not surprised by that at all. Aileen traveled with Michael Jackson and his children for 3 years as a homeschooling teacher all across Europe, the US, and Asia. So we're so pleased to have you, Aileen, and thank you so much for making the time to speak with us. And thank you to the MJ Book Club on Facebook, for the MJ Book Club on Twitter, our Twitter following, and as well as the Michael Jackson Book Club on YouTube. This is our first time streaming simultaneously, and we're happy to have everyone watching from all over the world. And so we have questions for you, Aileen, and we also have questions from the fans that have come in over the last few days. Okay, so before we dive into the book, we want to get a sense of what the process was like for you making the decision to write this book. You had to basically go back in time and reflect on a period in your life that you worked for Michael Jackson. And this was 14 years after you had started working for him. Was it like an emotional process to go back and revisit that period in your life?
Um, First and foremost, I want to say hi and good morning to the Philippines, to the people of Philippines, and good evening to those who are in US and Canada and other parts of the world. So, oh yeah, writing the book actually brings back a lot of wonderful memories with Mr. Jackson and his children. And yeah, I must say it had an emotional toll on me because I don't know, I still find it so um it's kind of weird or something. I thought I was over that grieving stage. I thought I'm already okay, but I still find myself um, getting emotional at times.
Mhm.
Maybe because of a lot of reasons. I think because of gratitude that I was so blessed with that chance to work for him and the children, and maybe because I feel bad for the children losing their father at an early age. And yeah, I just felt so bad for him. So, although it brings back a lot of wonderful memories, I still get so emotional writing the book.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's I don't know, it's hard to explain. I think it's because I get so attached with them. I get so emotionally attached with them because, as you can see, when we were in Ireland, it was just us. I mean, there were no other people, and it was just us. And so we became close. And so, yeah, writing this book brings really back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
I can imagine because obviously it had a profound impact on you, and it had such a significant impact on your life just going forward. And I can't imagine um, having to go back and kind of chronicle what you experienced with him and the kids, and thinking of just all of those memories. It sounds overwhelming in a good way, but also in a sad way too, kind of
Mhm.
bittersweet.
Yeah.
So, some more
Yeah.
information on the book itself. How long did it take you to write the book? And just as a my personal question to you, when I first saw the title of the book, The King of Pop and I immediately thought of The King and I, the
Yeah.
movie, the musical, and I wonder if if you chose the title because of that reason, because The King and I was a tutor, teaching the children of a king. Like, is that why you chose that title?
Actually, when we started writing the book, like officially writing the book, we thought of like different titles. Like we have 10, or I mean 10 to 15 titles, and while we were still on the process, we still don't know which one to use. So there were a lot actually, like Travels with Mr. Jackson, all around the world with Mr. Jackson, the King of Pop, and the children. There's a lot actually, but in the end, there were actually two titles that were really confused on what to use. Like the first one was I call him Mr. Jackson, and the second one was the King of Pop and I. And so my team and I couldn't decide, so we asked like a few close friends of ours and asked them which one is nicer or which one is good. And then they said that the King of Pop and I, because it's like it's easier to remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I love also the other one because it's like more of personal to me. But yeah, and also the King and I is just like, as you have said, Steph, that's just like the same story with my book. Like it's just a tutor teaching the children of the king.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of, yeah, there's a similarity as well. So yeah, so we just
Yeah,
added the pop thing, yeah, King of Pop thing.
I
And I
think
think,
it's
And I'm sorry.
oh, nothing. Sorry.
oh, I think it's the perfect title. I think it's perfect, especially because you can draw the parallels from that movie and that the novel King and I, and it was a musical, and I love that. I loved that movie growing up.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is your story in a way. How long did it take you to write the book?
Um, Actually, I already have my journal.
Mm,
That journal is actually, it's like a diary, which I have the list of the places we've been to,
mm,
like the dates where we traveled, and it's just like what like activities we did in a particular day. So it's just like a journal, and I made like if you're gonna translate it into a book, so it's like a manuscript, but it's really like a journal. But if you say um, officially that was January 2019. So I had my team and I had officially worked on the book. So it's almost a year actually. Yes. So it's really a long process.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that's actually perfect for the next questions. Did you have any reservations about writing the book? What was that moment that came to you where you really felt like you needed to write this story? And what prompted that decision?
Um, when I was when we decided in January 2019, so I was really decided to write the story about Mr. Jackson, and I mean my experience with Mr. Jackson and being as a teacher for the kids. And yeah, because I heard a lot of narratives, negative narratives, and I feel that it's my time to tell my story. And yeah, my colleagues have spoken already, and I think that it's also my time to do it as well. And yeah, when I started it, I was already really decided to continue writing that. And here comes when it was already 2020. Um, of all the things that has been going on. It has really been a very challenging year for all of us. Like it's a global condition, and I
Mhm.
feel that I want to share my story and let them know how hope and faith have helped me in my journey. Like at that time, if I left Bahrain, I wouldn't have met Mr. Jackson. So I want to share my story with them that that even though how hard the situations we are in right now, they can still find hope, and if they just have to hold on to their faith,
Mm.
they will be they will be seeing the light in the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel, and it might not be meeting a celebrity or working for a celebrity. Okay, so it could be meeting incredible people in your life that will that will be so good to you and make a change in your life, just like what Mr. Jackson changed my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want them to take away whatever they can from my story, and I just really hope that this will serve as an inspiration as well to them.
Oh, it absolutely will. And I think it came at a perfect time, especially now, right at the end of 2020. It was like a Christmas gift for all of us. We were anticipating it, and then we were able to, jump right into it, reading it this year. So I think you picked the perfect time to write this book.
Mhm.
Um, so, being the homeschool teacher to Prince Paris Blanket, BG. You must have had countless conversations with Michael about learning and education. Um, could you tell us a little bit about Michael's educational philosophy, just in a few sentences? What were his thoughts and his approach to education?
Mhm. Okay, Mr. Jackson is very um, into raising children who are smart, but of course with values and with good manners.
Mhm.
So I know that Mr. Jackson really want them to learn, but at the same time to raise beautiful children, like inside and out. And they wanted them to be polite, to be respectful, to be kind individuals. So one time when I had this conversation with him, and he told me like, Miss Eileen, please do help me discipline the children. And and from that time I he gained my respect because from that conversation you would get to know the real Mr. Jackson, because for him the values and good manners are really very important for him. Yeah.
Mm. Very good, very good. Yeah, that's one thing. Even before hearing your story, that's what a lot of people knew about you. That quote by him, please, I want my children to be well mannered and polite and disciplined. That was something that always stuck out to me when I heard about your time with him. And so it's nice to be able to read a little bit more about that in the book. Now, I know that you mentioned writing in a journal, writing, were you writing every day back in that time, or did you kind of experience all of that and then sort of write everything down afterward? Was it like a daily thing for you?
Yeah, there were like daily and weekly, like important things happened. And yeah, I was so surprised when I'm in the process of making the book, and then I read through my journal again. I was really surprised that I wrote everything. Even
Wow.
the food I ordered at the restaurant, it was there. Even
Uh,
the things I got from Walmart or from Target, it was there. So yeah, and basically all the things I got for the children, and yeah, everything, it was there. And even the dates of our travels, there were like exact dates. So yeah, the time I flew back to Bahrain for vacation, it was there. So yeah, it is pretty accurate. And I one thing also, I have these notes, the letters, the even the luggage tags, and
gosh.
the airline ticket. So yeah, I have everything with me. Even the room keys, the hotel keys. I still have it with me because at that
Everything.
time, yeah, yeah, because we don't really like go to the front desk and check out. somebody need to do it for us. So I have the room keys with me, so I don't need to return it to them. So it's with me. Like for every hotel, I still have it with me actually.
Oh
So
my,
yeah, I keep everything. Yes.
The time
everyone, yeah. Everyone in the comments, they're saying, "Oh, wow. Oh, it's just, we're benefiting from your discipline with, writing out all those details out. Like we're so grateful that you took the time to do that even back then because we're benefiting from it now because you took such detailed notes of your time with Michael and the kids, and now because there's so much detail there, you're able to turn it into a book and share it with all of us, and we're so grateful that you did that.
Oh, I
I
know. And at that time, I didn't have any like plans, of course, of writing a book at that time. So I
Yes,
just
yes, yes,
did it.
yes.
Yeah,
Of
yeah, for
course.
meant to
journaling.
be. It was meant
Yeah.
to be. Sure.
Meant to be, absolutely. And I know that you at some point maybe you had a blog a while ago, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. I know you talked a little bit about Michael and the kids there, and one thing that you said that was so beautiful, you said, "The job I was blessed with gave me the rare chance to see the world from a different perspective. Through traveling, I've become skilled at grasping lessons of any situation thrown at me. Appreciating and accepting change became effortless when you're in recognition that things don't usually work as you planned it to be." And so, because you were kind of going from Europe to the US to Asia, you were constantly having to make a home anywhere that you guys landed. And I always have thought about that for PPV, Prince Paris and Blanket. They kind of just, home was where their dad was. And I just wonder, did your travels with all of them really impact your teaching style? Did it inform your teaching style? Did you shape your lessons for the children around the places that you traveled?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because wherever we go, we I tried to immerse ourselves into that country. For instance, when we were in Ireland, we I tried to make it a point that we study about Ireland, like their culture. Like for a week, we study about their culture, like their food. We even we even studied about the folklore, the myths, and the banshees. We have the Saint Patrick. We studied about Saint Patrick and everything, the food and everything, and because learning becomes more authentic if you are in that place, and yeah, and it's also I feel that we should also learn about that place when we were there, and I'm also very fortunate or blessed that I was able to talk to the locals, like the household help there, and they were so kind to share with me about stories about Ireland, and I would share them also with the children, and they were so happy, and yeah, we really enjoyed Ireland, and yeah, everything. We That's why we custom made the lessons. Some of the lessons were custom made for the places we've been to. So yeah, when we were in Disneyland, we learned about Walt Disney. So yeah, there were a lot. So I have to. It's kind of challenging, but it was fun at the same time because I want them to learn. Um, I want to give them authentic learning. So yeah, and I was just so happy that Mr. Jackson and I were on the same page. For instance, like during that Disneyland thing, I I told Mr. Jackson that if he could go and visit the park or what, and then he said yes. And when we were in New York, I said, Mr. Jackson, would it be okay if we go to a museum so that I would let the children see some of this stuff? And said, oh yeah, sure, no problem. And then at times he would be with us, and at times he couldn't come because he had so many things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just really so happy, and yeah, I was blessed at the same time that Mr. Jackson was really supportive of me in that department.
You know what? I think one of the reasons why he was on the same page with you is because that's kind of how he grew up. That's how he
Yeah.
ended up learning. When he was on tour with the Jacksons and Jackson 5, he had his own tutor, Rose Fine, and I think there's a really nice quote from Jermaine Jackson's book where he says, "With each new frontier we conquered, Rose Fine had us sightseeing and reading about different histories, cultures, and people. To her, touring with the Jackson 5 was a grand version of a school field trip." And as someone who is a big believer in international education and study abroad education, like that's been my favorite part about learning about you and learning about Michael's upbringing. So I think that's why he was so supportive of
Yeah.
that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever have a conversation with Michael about his own homeschooling experience with Rose Fine, the Jackson 5 teacher? As an educator yourself, how do you see the unique education shaping the man and the artist he became?
Oh, Tammy, he didn't mention to me about his homeschooling when he was still young. So no, and I haven't read also Jermaine's book. So no,
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
Yeah, he didn't mention him at all.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. We were just curious if he did. So you witnessed the way the media, there's a part in your book where you were going to Britain and on the flight, and you witnessed the way the media distorted the reality and how they twisted the facts. And can you give us an example of this? Like during that trip to Britain, you saw how the tabloids reported that incident, which there really wasn't an incident, and how the tabloids affected him in terms of what, the titles were, like Wacko Jacko and that sort of thing, like you describe in your book how that was.
Yeah, the one I mentioned in my book, that once we flew commercial, and it was an urgent matter, so we didn't have any reservations, so we just flew in, and the kids were actually instructed to behave, or if you want to talk, just keep your voice down so that we wouldn't attract attention. And so, of course, the children listened, and they were really quiet the whole time during the flight, and they were covered with masks and like the veils and a cap, so they won't be attracting attention. And yeah, they were silent the whole time, the whole flight. And the next day, I was so surprised why there was a news on the tabloid that the spoiled children of Michael Jackson was throwing soda cans the whole time in the flight. So I was like, what? Like, how? Like, where on earth did they get that? Like, and people who were not there in that flight, and they will be able to hear or read that news. Of course they would believe it, because especially if that news was written by a journalist, so-called journalist, and of course people would naturally believe them. And I was like, oh my goodness, why would they do such a thing? Like, it didn't happen at all. It's just like stories were just fabricated. And yeah, at that time it really pains me to hear and read stories, like false stories about them, because I was there, I knew what happened, and yeah, it really pains me, and it feels so bad for them. I feel so bad for them, and I just don't understand why people can't just write what's the truth, like what really happened. Why do they have to fabricate? I know it's maybe because of money. They want to sell the story. Like, the more Jews in it, the more they add lies, the more people will buy. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel so bad for them. And yeah, there were still countless of incidents like that, but that one is I don't know. I would say I really felt so bad about that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how they twist things just out of nowhere,
Yeah.
So you mentioned,
And it's so sad. Yeah, and it's so sad because people are drawn to negative news,
Mhm.
and they tend to believe more on the negative news than the good ones. Like they don't care, or they don't pay attention if there was something good written about him, and they tend to believe more on the negative side, which is so sad. Which
Mhm.
is so sad.
We've
They try to believe more on the trash, and I don't know.
It's a it's a
I just
it's a very unique phenomenon around Michael Jackson. We've been charting that throughout this book club, and we've seen so many different books and different sources, articles that they thrived off of that kind of negative news.
Mhm.
That's how people made their money back then, and positive news is boring.
Yeah.
So
And still does,
it's
right? Leaving their
still does.
still those negative documentaries that they try to make money, and so that's why we're here too. We're trying to, same as you, just
Trying to
it's
fight back.
not true.
and thank you for what you do. I do appreciate, and thank you for all the efforts. Thank you so much.
Well,
No,
thank you for writing the book.
yeah, it's because of you that we can actually have these sort of interviews and actually get the truth out. So yeah, like, I mean, your book is beautiful. It really is. And I
Thank you.
100% you captured the essence of him, like, for his everyday life. And you like, so to go into some more positive things. So in your book, you mentioned that one day you saw sketches lying around in your classroom, and Paris was like, "Oh yeah, my dad drew those." And what were they of, and what did you think? Like, have you ever seen any of his other artwork, or did you?
Oh yeah, those actually were like maybe 5 papers of caricatures. Like yeah, like there was a man and like there was a lady, and it was drawn really perfectly. So I thought that it was made of somebody like a professional one, and when I asked Paris about that, and she was just like, "Oh, that's daddy's work." And at that time, I didn't even know that he was so good in sketches. I didn't know. I thought he was just a good singer and a dancer. I didn't know he could sketch as well. So I was so surprised, and it was really really good. It's really good. Yeah. So yeah, I just said, wow, he was really so talented, and I didn't even know about that. And good thing, yeah, I saw those caricatures, and yeah, it was really made beautifully. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he used to, Brett Livingston Strong was his sort of teacher, and he used to, get art classes a little bit from him, and he used to love to draw, apparently. So nice that you got to see that, to see his.
Yeah, yeah, it was really, I don't know, because before I was employed, like before I worked for Mr. Jackson, I just knew him like a great dancer, a great singer, and I really didn't have that chance to study or research about him. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, there are a lot of things that I really didn't know about him, and I was just surprised as I discovered it as time went by. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I admired him, like I respected him more as time goes by. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was more than it meets the eye, for sure. Did you ever discuss books with Michael? Any in-depth conversations about his favorite books? We know he's a bookworm. In the book club, we know he's a bookworm, and so do you. But in the public, we don't know if they all know about, how much of an avid reader he was. Did you ever discuss any sort of subjects with him, or authors, or we know that you mentioned that did you notice any of the favorite books that he carried around? We know you mentioned about his being a bookworm, and that you saw him with a book all the time.
Yeah, actually, when I first saw him when we were in Bahrain, he was already like bringing books with him about architecture, design, and travel. But I didn't get the chance to see who the author was.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and then when we were in Ireland as well, I keep on seeing him with a book, like history, like architecture and design. I think at that time that was his interest. Um, Also, when we were in Vegas, he had a library in his house.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked it's actually Brother Michael. He asked him to help him put off his library. So Brother Michael was so busy collecting books for him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he was really a bookworm. And yeah, actually, our conversation before were really all about school, like
Mhm.
about the children.
Right.
And so, yeah, and if you have read the book, I was I was told that you have to focus your work being as a teacher. So I was so scared to ask something. I don't know because I love my job so much, and I was so scared that maybe Mr. Jackson will be turned off, like, or why are you asking so much questions?
Yeah,
So
for
so
sure.
yeah, I focused my energy on the children and the school side.
Yes.
So yeah, yeah, that's it. So it's and our conversations are all about
School.
school and children. Yes,
Yeah.
all the
No,
time.
I understand. Just thought we'd ask, So can you, there's a couple key questions, parts in your book there. Can you tell us about the story about your running into Mr. Jackson in the pantry? Um,
Yeah.
and one of the questions was like, well, you were getting snacks, chocolates and chips and whatever else, and you ran into him and he mentioned that, he was also getting popcorn and Tabasco sauce and whatever else he grabs. And did you ever, I don't know, decide to have more healthy snacks? Did you feel like he was trying when he mentioned that, like, oh, well, there's healthy snacks too? Was he just saying that, oh, it's not only junk food to help himself?
Oh yes, absolutely. I mean, working for the Jacksons, you will really get to adapt to their lifestyle. They were really healthy.
Mhm.
Um, yes, Mr. Jackson is really particular on the food that they eat, especially the food that he feeds to the children. And yeah, as time went by, I adapted to that lifestyle. I don't drink soda anymore. And yeah, as time goes by, I didn't eat that much sweets anymore. So chocolates, I ate them once in a while, but not that much. Because when we were in Ireland, I was still very new to them. So I still have that bad habit of eating unhealthy food. So but when we were already in London and even when eventually in US, yes, I adapted to that lifestyle and I drink more water now because of Mr. Jackson.
Wow.
And yeah, he was very particular with letting the children drink water. And so when he told me about that, I made this like an activity or a game in the school, in our class actually, that whoever finishes the number of the water bottles will get a chip. Like we have like a reward, something like a chip. And then at the end of the day, if you drank the most number of bottled water, then you will get like a reward or something.
Mhm.
So yeah, we did that because he wanted me to like let them drink a lot of water. So
Aw, that's
yeah,
awesome.
Wow.
I know.
These are the things that like these little stories that you're telling us. I mean, it really means a lot. These
Mhm.
were kind of the lost years of Michael, and just to know that he wanted his kids to compete to drink water just to be healthier. I mean, that's so funny. I love that.
Yeah.
And the fact, not only did he have a profound impact on you, but he even changed your eating habits to more
Yeah,
healthy eating habits. This is
I
great.
know. And at that time, if I may add, at that time I started eating salads. I ordered salads because I really don't eat. I'm a bad influence. I don't eat vegetables at that time, not that much. But when I was with them in Ireland, and yeah, eventually when we were traveling, I ate salad. I ordered salad all the time, and so yeah, that's how he changed my life into like to have a healthier lifestyle. And but then Mr. Jackson, I must say, he also like gave the children like a cheat day. Like we would order like in Vegas, we went to Chuck E. Cheese because he felt bad for the kids always inside the house. So we need to go out and let them enjoy once in a while. And he would also order Krispy Kremes for the kids when there was an occasion.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, yeah, I know. And he was kind of strict in that in the diet, their diet, but he was a father. He was a really good father that sometimes he allowed um, to eat in the fast food and to eat fast food and to have a little sweets. Um, yeah, and if I may add, the children were not allowed to just eat candies and sweets. Like they were reserved for special occasions. So if it's Halloween, Christmas, birthday, so that's they
Yeah.
get to eat. Yeah. So he was really strict in that department. Yeah, he disciplined the children really well.
Yeah, and as well, you mentioned or in the book, it was like also physical activity. You always had physical activity every day. He was very, adamant about healthy eating and physical activity for the kids.
Yeah, for our physical education, the PE, we have to jog, like everywhere we were. Even if you're in the hotel, like if we stay in a hotel, we have to run in the hallways. And even in Ireland, we were there like winter time, so it was so cold, and we have to run outside. Yeah, because he didn't like us to stop doing that physical activities because he wanted the children to be active and to be healthy because he knew the importance of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And even though when we were in Bahrain, it was so hot. We were in the desert, it was so hot. We have to do it. So yeah, he was really very particular about that.
Oh, wow. I think it's amazing that, you know, even though the kids and him were traveling all over, he tried to maintain a sense of discipline and also a sense of balance, being able to reward them with treats every once in a while, but, maintaining the healthy lifestyle. And I just think that he was such a good example to them, but he was also very generous too. There were a lot of incidents that you described where he showed how much he cared and how grateful he was to you for being such a great teacher to the children. Can you tell us about his giving nature and how generous he was?
Oh, Mr. Jackson was really generous because he wanted to let you know that he appreciate you, or like if you did something good, he shows that in giving. Like
Mhm.
he finds joy in giving. And yeah, he actually gave me a lot of stuff, but for me it's not these things are not important, but the act of giving itself for
Yeah.
me. Like he remembered you, he appreciated you. That's the most important thing for me. And
Mm.
yeah, when I mentioned about that, he gave all of his staff when iPhone, the first iPhone actually, that was into 2007 when it first came out. He got one for himself, and he said, "Oh, wow, it's nice." And then he got everybody an iPhone, and even his I think his close friends, he got iPhone for his close friends. And at that time it was almost Thanksgiving, and he gave us like a little extra for Thanksgiving, that yes, so that we could celebrate it with our family. So yeah, we were so it's the thoughtfulness that
Mhm.
really yeah, mattered to me. It's not about the gifts. It's not about the material things. There's
Mhm.
nothing. Yeah, but it's just the thoughtfulness and of him, like the being the king of pop, that um he 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 took time, like he thought of you and yeah, gave you this things. So yeah, that
Yes.
is what more important to me.
Yeah, with all the stories that we've been collecting, including yours, like that's always something that stands out to us. Doesn't matter like who was working for him or in what capacity, he always remembered you and made you feel special and appreciated. So that's one thing that we really love about him too. Now, I know that a couple of the stories that you've shared with us have been from Ireland, and I can tell when you talk about Ireland, it's a very happy memory for you. And there's a mini documentary out there about his time in Ireland, and a lot of us in the fan community We kind of wish that Michael had stayed in Ireland because he seemed happy. He seemed at ease. He seemed content. And the kids, I'm assuming they loved it too. And in your book, you kind of, it seems like you have those sort of what if thoughts. What if he had stayed there? You said the locals made every effort to preserve his privacy, which is rare. That's never heard when it comes to Michael Jackson. And they made his children comfortable. It was tranquil. They would actually divert the press from seeing him. They would give the press wrong directions. And a farmer threatened to put manure on his car, on the journalist's car. What did you observe Michael and his children doing to enjoy themselves while in Ireland? What do you think it meant for them to have this rare freedom?
Yeah, I believe those days spent in Ireland were really made. It made. I'm not so sure with them, but for me, it's just like the best time of their life because they were so free to do whatever they like, and they could just play around the property and like not even worrying about paparazzi taking a picture or what. So yeah, I saw him played with the children and yeah, spending more time because it was just really only us. So there were no bodyguards, no everything, no other people. So I believe that them, like as a family unit, really grew closer at the time. And yeah, there were times when we would go to the neighborhood and just with our wellies because Ireland is like rains all the time. So the wellies like the boots. Like we go to the neighborhood and yeah, just walk around. And those times were really priceless. Like I felt at that time that he was really happy with the place and happy at the time of his life because let's face it, he couldn't get that tranquility in other places, especially in US. So yeah, that's why in my book I was like, what if we didn't leave Ireland? What if things could have been done differently? So that was just my personal yeah. I was just yeah, I was just thinking, what if? What
Yeah.
if?
We do
Well,
too.
we all think the same thing. I mean, I don't remember any other place that gave him that level of privacy and freedom. And I think it's very rare that he even experienced that himself, let alone his children. So yeah, that part of the book gets to us too. And it's nice you were able to reflect on that time in Ireland. So let's move to the other part of Europe, London, the World Music Awards in London, right? We've
Yeah.
all seen the coverage. You were there. Initially, you were going to go to the awards with the children, but Michael changed his mind and asked if you would stay with them in the hotel suite because he trusted you. What was it like to see the King of Pop all dressed up on his way out to go to the awards and to be in the suite when he returned? Because this was his first time, like, kind of going back out into the public and going into the King of Pop mode, Michael Jackson mode. What was that like?
Oh, yeah. When I first saw him, I feel that I'm good. It's okay. I'm not going to the awards night. I'm good with this because I've seen him. I've seen him already, and yeah, it was like a surreal moment because that was the first time I saw him really dressed up. Because I usually see him like in his PJs, pajamas, and even Donald Duck shirts. So that was the first time I saw him dressed up. And at that time, I was still very new to them. So yeah, I was just mesmerized. And yeah, it was really, yeah, he was really good looking at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, I can only imagine from PJs to like that outfit. Everyone in the comments,
Yeah.
they're saying, "Oh, that was like the one of the best outfits. Love that outfit in 2006." It was, yeah, I'm sure it was a transformation for
And
you.
I
didn't the
know.
designer come to Ireland too? Didn't you kind of like the designer Sorry, I can't remember who that was. Robert Cavalli, maybe. What, didn't he go to Ireland to start fitting him for that outfit, or
The designer of
I'm
the
sorry.
the designer?
Roberto Cavalli.
Yeah, didn't he go to Ireland or something to help, or there was some sort of collaboration with the outfit for that, or?
I was told that he was in Culator at that time, the house where Mr. Jackson stayed, but I didn't see him personally though. But yeah, I was told that he was there for the outfit. Yes.
Okay.
Very cool.
All right. So you talk about how hands-on Michael was, and that one day he attended class. So we're getting back to your actual work as a teacher, right? One day he attended a class to observe you, and you mentioned that Michael raised his hand to ask you a question, and you teach the children about subjects like Veterans Day and holidays. In the US, it's a holiday to celebrate veteran soldiers, right? He said, and this is a quote from the book, right? "Children, please listen to her because it is very important for you to know the significance of the holiday and why we celebrate it." Did he ask you to focus on other teachings, like, other significant days, holidays? What types of subjects were important to him that you had to include in the students' curriculum? And can you describe other things? Well, I'll leave that question to later. There's like a lot of questions here. So first, did he have you focus on certain subjects for the children?
Actually, what he emphasized before was just to integrate, as what I've said earlier, values and good manners. So that is what is really very, he really wanted me to do. So, but with the other subjects, like when you say about the lessons, I think he was pretty contented with or satisfied with what I'm doing. But what he always reminded me of was just that one about the values and good manners.
So
yeah.
That was the number one priority for him. Okay.
Yeah.
And just one more quick question about his relationship with the children. Can you describe, besides like him really valuing education and politeness, can you describe other things that you witnessed that demonstrated his devotion to the kids, just in regular day-to-day life, things that you saw that surprised you or really, made you see him in a different light as a father? And how involved was he with them day to day? Did you spend like most of the day with them, teaching them, or was the day kind of broken up for them?
Mr. Jackson, as I've mentioned, was a very hands-on father. So he would help them with their homework, and he would wake up every day in the morning to help them with school, like make sure that they showered, take their breakfast and everything. So he was really a very hands-on father. So back to the time when I was interviewed for the job, like Miss Grace told me that, oh, your employer is a very hands-on father, so you don't need to worry. And true enough, she's really correct. Like he was really a hands-on father. So I have nothing much to do. I just have to focus on school. And yeah, like everything that you wouldn't expect the king of pop would do.
Yeah.
He was the best. I could say from what I've witnessed and from what I've seen, he was the best father to the children.
Wow.
And yeah. And you wouldn't expect that for somebody like Michael Jackson. You would think that he wouldn't know to do some parental stuff or everything. But yeah, he was really the best. He was really the best.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think when you think of music royalty, you don't think of them like getting their kids ready for school and making them breakfast and helping them with their homework. It's hard to think about that, but that's what he was like. And you got to see that firsthand. So you're so lucky you got to see that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I always say that I'm not lucky, but I'm blessed to have that opportunity to. Yes, I was so blessed to have that opportunity to witness everything.
blessed is a better word. And I
Yes,
think
yes.
it's really just amazing. And to know that he was so hands-on like that. And so just thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, he was.
Um, so in your book, there's a part in which you say that these were simple things that Jacksons considered luxuries but could rarely afford. Chuck E. Cheese, movie theaters, Disneyland, nearby parks, playgrounds. Would be their dream to visit these places without being hounded or harassed. Michael Jackson wanted to come out and walk in the streets, not as a performer or celebrity, but as a father. And he couldn't even fulfill the simple role of taking his children out because the public wouldn't let him. You talk about how you understand why it was important for the children to wear masks. And can you elaborate on that a little bit, like how you gain that sort of inner insight about the masks and about what that was about? Because sometimes people will criticize him about, or the people that don't know, right? The media is like, oh, they made him wear masks, and you understand what that was about. So do we, but we'd like to hear it from you, how that was.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was still new, I was instructed to bring the masks, like, or even the veils or the caps all the time with us. So at the time, I felt that these things are more important than my own wallet, or I can forget about my wallet or my phone as long as I have with me the mask, the veils, and the cap. So at the time, I thought it was really important. And I have to admit that I also find it strange. Why do we have to cover their beautiful faces? Like, why? But then, as time went by, and how I witnessed how people harassed him, how people tried to take a photo of him, like the more ridiculous the better. I started to realize that these masks or these coverings were really very important. Like, it made sense to me as time went by, because Mr. Jackson was just trying to protect his kids. He wanted them to wear these coverings so that the people wouldn't know how, like, what and how they look like. So when they go out in public without Mr. Jackson, they can just blend flawlessly in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So it made sense to me, because when I told you earlier that there were times when we go to museums and Mr. Jackson couldn't make it with us. So it was just me, like the three kids, and like two bodyguards, two security. And we wouldn't let them wear their masks, because obviously, like, the people or these journalists or paparazzis would not be taking photos of them, because they don't know how they look like and what they look like. So so they can enjoy. And because Mr. Jackson obviously didn't have his childhood, didn't enjoy his childhood, he wanted his kids to enjoy theirs. So that made really sense to me. And for them and for other people, it may sound weird, it may sound cruel, but it is just a father protecting his children. It's just a father trying to give his children what he didn't experience when he was young. So it's just simple as that. Mr. Jackson wanted to protect them, and he wanted to give him the best of their childhood, so that they could go out in the park, go out in the museum, and they can enjoy. So because it's really different when when Mr. Jackson was with us, because even though how careful we were, like, if we go to this place, we're really careful. We don't know, paparazzis, other fans would always find us, and it would cause commotion. And people tried to, like, they would try to document everything, take photos, video, and others would, that's what I've said, they would harass him. And so the children wouldn't enjoy the visit the outing or the visit to a museum or a park, because we have to rush. We have to rush and run, go back to the car. And that is what that is the reason why Mr. Jackson had them wear the mask and the coverings.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
so
they
that when they go,
in your book, you talk about how they seemed pretty like they were used to it. You know, like it wasn't like a a torturous thing. It was like they were used to having to do this and to skip out or whatever. This like they were used to that sort of level of fame. Like
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, and the lack of empathy from the media and the people who followed you around, it's just terrible. I mean, I don't think anyone can really understand the position that those kids were in,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
yeah.
They took it in stride, which is amazing. To
But those mask and coverage really help because there were times when we went out all by ourselves and they were able to enjoy the places as well.
Right.
So
Exactly what he wanted. That's what he wanted.
And they had aliases too, right? You had to use their aliases when they were outside in public.
Yes.
Nobody would dropping would understand.
To not attract attention. Yeah. They have their aliases.
Yeah.
It was actually a really smart strategy on his part to do that.
Yeah, it was so smart of him to think of that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's just a father instinct that if you want to protect your children, like you get the best strategies that you could find. Because there's a need for you to protect your children.
Well, sure. So, nobody else in the world had been, famous at the age of 8 years old or 11 years old the way he was. So to understand that, to have the childhood part of it, so at the end, you talk. Well, going on to your book here, you talk about you wrote these really sweet open letters in the book to Prince Blanket. From a teacher's perspective, are you surprised to see what they are now doing as adults? Prince is into film and business side of it, and BG's into film, especially Marvel. Paris is a singer. She just released her album, Wilted, and as a model. Like, did you see that in them, or are you surprised, or do you think like, oh, they were talented and you knew that they would be this way?
Yeah, actually, I'm not really surprised at all because early on, at a very young age, Prince was really very interested in films and directing. And I think it's because Mr. Jackson already introduced them to this field when, at that young age. And they had a tutor or like a teacher who came to the house to teach them about film and directing. So I'm not surprised at all. And even Paris is very talented. And I knew from the very start that she would be following Mr. Jackson's career, like in singing, because she was really good. And also Blanket, I'm sorry, I have to call him Blanket still. I'm not used to, Blanket. He at that time he was really very interested in superheroes. He used to love Spider-Man, so he called it Spidey. And then when I got the chance to talk with Prince 2011 or 2012 via Twitter and email, he told me that his interest changed from Spider-Man to Iron Man. So he was really into superheroes, and so I'm not surprised at all. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all, and I'm so extremely proud of them, of what they have become right now. They are really beautiful individuals, and in their chosen field, they are very successful, I can say, and I know that Mr. Jackson couldn't be prouder of them.
Yeah,
I'm just so happy. Yeah, and I'm just so happy that they're doing really well. And every night, I still pray that they will be surrounded by good people and they will be protected from harm. So they're always in my prayers. Oh my God, I'm going to
You're
Oh my goodness. It must be so rewarding for you to see them coming into themselves and becoming adults. You knew them as little kids and now they're all grown up. I'm sure it's I'm sure it's totally understandable.
Yeah, totally. No problem. It's no problem.
Yes.
You have in your book, you have a quote charisma is charm that inspires devotion. And that it reminded you of Michael Jackson. Sorry, let me just here. You saw plenty of women and men faint and cry when they saw Michael. What do you think it was about him that made people react this way? Was it charisma, or what do you think it was? Was it just his giving nature and just him so humble, or I'm not sure what it is. We've never met him, so we don't know.
I think it's all about his charisma. It's something that you can't really explain. Like, it's like a magnet attracting people, and I think it's because of his he is pure. For me, I know he has flaws too, of course, but like he was pure. Like he was the kindest, and it just shines, and people see that, and so that's why he attracts people. And I think it's not just because of his talent and because of his sold out concerts and everything. It's because what's really in him that draws people in him. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Well, I just want you to know that everyone in the comments, the fans are saying, "Oh my gosh, I just want to hug her. She's such a beautiful person."
Why you were hired to be and why he trusted you, he trusted
you. He probably saw you are pure too, and that's probably why he wanted you to be a part of his team. Like recognizes like, and obviously you saw something in him that is already inside of you, so that's probably
and
why.
Grace.
Yeah.
Like Grace interviewed you, and you became friends, and she's also a spiritual person, and so is Michael. And so as far as we know, of course, we don't know him personally, but we study him. We've read a lot of books. We're book club, so we know a lot of books. But
I'm really sorry. This is what I told you. I thought I'm already okay, but I'm not.
Don't worry.
I thought I'm already past the grieving stage, but I'm not.
Oh, none of us are really. No, we still have our moments still.
We have all of us have broken down. We've all broken down and cried over something about Michael. Yeah, it's just
there's nobody else in the world like that can actually affect us the way he does still. Like, it's true.
Have that impact.
It's a big thing. I mean, this might make you cry, but we're going to go on to fan questions soon, but there's a question. So what would you want the world to know about Michael? You know that there's been stuff coming out and you've written about in your book, you've described everything about him, but if you could just say, what would you want the world to know about him?
Okay, I just want to let the people know that Mr. Jackson was a decent person. He was the best father to Prince Paris a Blanket. He was the best boss ever, and he was the kindest person in the world for me.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's why we started this conversation asking you, what kind of emotional toll that it took to revisit this period of your life, because I mean, I'm not surprised by the tears. It's a lot to think about, and it's just rare to meet someone like that. I don't know if there will ever be anyone like that again.
No, and we feel like I have never personally met him. So like I said, we just read a lot, and we can just feel the essence, I think, of him through you and through you and people who knew him, write about him. That's how we get to know, and the world to know, because what they're trying to say out there distorted is not what he was really about. So yeah, this is very important that you wrote this book, and it's amazing. And all those notes you put together were for a reason, they're just. Yeah, and we don't want to give all the spoilers away about the book, but there's so many stories in there, and how giving he was to you. Like, you described this time where he was he was sensitive. Like, he saw you at the table when you were in Japan, and you didn't really know some of the staff, and he would give you gifts and just to thank you about teaching his kids, and it was always like letters, and just so. He tried to make you feel like you were, part of his family and important, and he was so, just, it's amazing. It's all just, that's constant with people, when they talk about him.
Yeah. And if I may add, there was also one time like Mr. Jackson called me one time, and actually I think I was doing something and I didn't hear my phone ringing, and so when I looked at my phone, there's like a missed call from Mr. Jackson, and there was a voicemail. So I tried to listen to it, and it's like, "Hi, Miss Aileen, this is Mr. Jackson. Please call me as soon as you can." And it was like, "Okay, what's wrong? What's going on? Did I do something bad or what? Like, did I upset him or I don't know." I was so confused. And so I called him back and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Jackson, this is Miss Aileen. Like, do you need anything? Like, what's wrong? Is there anything wrong?" And then he goes like, "Oh, nothing, nothing, Miss Aileen. I just want to thank you for everything. I just want to take this time to thank you for teaching my children, and you're doing a great job. Thank you so much, and thank you for being you."
Oh,
So yeah, I was so relieved. I thought I did something bad. And
Oh,
I know he was that sweet. He was that thoughtful. And he will call you not because he needed something from you.
oh,
He will call you, um, he will just call you to tell you how he felt. And those were the gestures or the things that I will never forget. And maybe because that's the reason why I'm so attached now and I'm so emotional. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Of course, I can't imagine how profound that would be. We are attached, and we didn't even get to work with him, so he's a special guy. I mean, there's part of your book where you talk about blankets. We'll talk about blanket BG's 6th birthday party, and you were there decorating, and then if you want to tell us about that a little bit, you were invited to the party to join them as a family.
Yeah. As what I've told you, um, when I was new to my work, I was told that never to, never to like volunteer myself to them. Like, you just have to focus on your work. If your work is a teacher, you focus on teaching, focus on the school. So I will not. I'm sorry about that. It's the phone. Um, I'm sorry. Um, so I have to focus on the work or on my job. So I'm sorry. Hold- I'm okay. So during that time, we were already preparing for Blanket's birthday, and yeah, many would say that maybe why do I have to do that? You're a teacher. Why do you have to do all of those stuff? But and I know I did my like um way and beyond my job, but I really don't care. They're my family. They're my second family. I really don't care, and it was my pleasure doing that for Blanket. And yeah, I know I heard some comments about that, but then during that time when I finished preparing everything, and I went to their suite when I prepared everything, and when Brother Michael told me that Mr. Jackson wanted you to stay, I was so surprised, and I didn't actually expect that, and also because when there's something like happening in the family, I don't just stay or I don't volunteer myself. I don't try to meddle in their business, especially if it's like family time, because I want to give them privacy. Because I was told before that please give them privacy. Like even though Mr. Jackson is a celebrity, he wanted to have privacy. So I respected that. It was on my mind um, until the day I left, even until now. Like I don't volunteer myself. Like I don't assume that I should be there. So after fixing everything, I said I have to go, and my work is done. And I said, no, Mr. Jackson wanted you to stay. And then I said, oh, okay. So I was so happy. I was so happy that he wanted me to stay and witness and celebrate Blackett's birthday. So at that time, I really felt that he really thought of me as a family member as well. So Yeah, and Mr.
Oh.
Jackson was really very particular on the people who
Mm.
invited inside his small circle.
Sure.
He didn't trust people that much because who could blame him? Many people already many people have tried to hurt him.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I couldn't blame him for that, and that is why I understood perfectly the rules, and yeah, and I never forget that until the day I left, or even until now, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think because you took your job so seriously, I think that's why he just was able to open up to you in that way and welcome you as like a family member. I just think what an honor, you
Yeah.
know. I just wow, everyone in the comments, they're just like everyone's emotional right now.
Yeah.
Everyone watching is
I'm
emotional.
sorry. Thank you. Thank
No,
you.
that's okay. And we wonder sometimes, it's like, I know it sounds through your book that we know he was generous to a lot of people. And Bill had mentioned he got an iPhone too, but it sounds like he was especially like considerate to you. Like he wanted to know how you were to say thank you and write notes and stuff. And we're wondering if, because he grew up that way, like he had Miss Rose Fine, that was like his second mother that traveled with him, and maybe that was part of it too. Like he understood the significance that you were to his children, like traveling and being
Yeah.
their teacher, and how important you were in that role. So it's just to see how sweet he was on you that way. Like it's just so endearing to hear these stories, and to even that birthday party when you talk about Blanket's birthday party, he came out with a little blindfold on, and he, and Blanket was like, oh, whatever. It sounds
I know.
very best to have the children enjoy themselves while they're traveling through the museums and through the teachings from you. So you were very integral, just your role was very important. So
Yeah.
so we have fan questions from the fans too. So we'll probably go through those. There's lots of fan questions.
So Tammy, I think actually like the first fan question from Shine Aubrey Ariola, I think we actually already kind of went through. I think we already answered that.
Yeah.
Most memorable conversation and how did he bond with children? So maybe we can skip down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Whatever you want to do.
Okay. I think the most memorable conversation might have been that phone call that you just told us about. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, and also, if I may add, yeah, there was also this conversation I had with him. We were at Heathrow, and we were like from the plane. You have to ride that airport shuttle, wherein you have to transfer, right, like to go to a different like the arrival area. And while we were in the airport shuttle, it was just actually us, like our group, and I told him at that time, because I was seated beside him, and I told him that, Mr. Jackson, I want to thank you for everything, for letting me see the world. And if it's not because of you, I wouldn't be able to travel to these beautiful places. And he was really constant by saying, oh, Miss Aileen, you deserve it. You are doing a great job, and you should not thank me. I should thank you for taking care of my children. So, yeah, I think that is also one of those conversation, really, really good conversation that will really stay in me forever. Because, yeah, it's always like that. He appreciates you all the time.
Wow, and he was not afraid to show it. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Aww. So
I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed.
I know. That your story, honestly, your book brought me, I smiled a lot, and I also a little bit of tears sometimes. It was just like, oh, just putting you were very good at putting the reader in your, journey.
Your shoes.
That was good.
Yes, yeah, I was really hoping also that while writing the book, I was trying my best to write it in a way that my readers would feel what I feel, like to bring them in all the places we've been to, and that is why maybe you could see that there's a lot of description, a little bit of history of the places, because I want the readers
It was
to
great.
feel and to get to know the places we've been to, and also most especially the experiences I had and what I felt at that moment.
It was amazing. I love
So yeah.
I think you did a good job with that. I think you
Oh,
definitely
thank you.
succeeded in putting the reader in your shoes for sure.
it. So
Oh, thank you.
Sharon has the same. I think you covered it too, but you can elaborate if you want to. But she just said, how did he bond with the children? This is her question. Cheyenne or Shane, sorry. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but how did he bond with the children? I really believe he was one of the best fathers anyone could have. That was her question.
Oh yeah, he played with them, watched movies with them. Yeah, and yeah, he always find, because especially in Ireland, we were just like, it was just us, or it was just them in their own little space. So most of the time you could just imagine like they were playing all the time, like playing pranks, playing jokes. So yeah, he was really bonding a lot of time with them during those times.
Very good. We have a question from Kathleen Kaleda. And again, you can decide if you want to answer these questions. We know that, you know, you've gotten emotional, and we've gotten emotional hearing about Mr. Michael Jackson. He has some amazing traits. He's a very genuine, very thoughtful, very compassionate, very generous. Many of the traits that a woman would dream of in a dream man. And you know, I guess I have to ask this: did you ever fall in love with Mr. Michael Jackson?
That's really interesting. I'm sorry, but no, because at that time I was, I mean, he was very, I thought highly of him. Like, it's just the respect. Like, yeah, I don't know if you get what I mean, but I have so much respect for him that I didn't get to think of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so no, it was just, he was just too much for me. He's too high for me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any thought. Like, I didn't think of that. Yeah, I'm sorry. He was
That's
just
okay.
somebody really, I really respect. I really respected. So
No, don't
I'm sorry.
apologize.
Okay.
Don't
Yeah, no, it's
apologize.
No, I think it's also good that I was certainly I was a fan, but I'm not an obsessed fan, because if I was, I wouldn't stay long with my job, because can you imagine me stalking
Yeah.
and can you imagine me stalking or observing his every move? So you can see I wouldn't last even for a month if I did that. So it was just, I think, a blessing in disguise that I do have this really high respect of him, but it did get to that point where I would have that feelings or what, or yeah, that kind of. I do admire him, but not to that level of that attraction that you're thinking.
Oh no, we totally understand. I think you had to have a very clear mind to be able to do your job, and I think a lot of the fans here in the comments probably wouldn't have been able to do your job.
No.
Oh my goodness.
We have another question from Helga Van Hollen. She said, Aileen, you wrote Michael made you lunch when you were in Ireland. What did he cook?
Oh, I'm sorry if I didn't really make that clear in my book, but I said prepared. I didn't say cooked.
Sorry.
I'm sorry about that. And during that time in Vegas, we had a chef who prepared the food all the time. So he comes every day, bring the food and leave it there.
Right.
So after he delivered the food, he left.
Okay.
Because Mr. Jackson doesn't like, at that time, he didn't like a lot of people in the house. So during lunch break, I would stay in the classroom, which is just the classroom was just like maybe 5 steps away from the dining area, like the main house. And so Mr. Jackson would prepare the lunch for me, like put all the things together, like all the food together in a plate. And sometimes Prince would bring it to me, and sometimes Paris would bring it to me. And yeah, because I don't like to. There were times that I had lunch with them or dinner with them, but during those times I wanted to give them privacy. I don't wanna, as what I've said, I don't wanna like meddle in their family affairs because I know those moments are precious. I want them to enjoy, like
Right.
by themselves. Yeah, I hope you get what I mean. So and I don't like that's why I said I don't like to volunteer myself. If they invite me, of course I will go.
Yeah.
And but it happened. Yeah, they also invited me, but not like for like lunch or dinner, but not
Right.
every day though. And I also would prefer to stay in the classroom so I could just eat comfortably. So
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah, because I would be watching every what do you call this food that I'm gonna put inside my mouth if I'll be in front of Mr. Jackson. So yeah, I was just comfortable in my own place.
Yeah.
That's
So yeah. So
I don't.
he prepared food for me, but he did cook it. The
right.
chef did.
Right.
So
Got it.
Yeah.
he just put it all together.
No,
I'm sorry
that's
about
still
that.
nice.
I should
That's
have been
No.
more
it's still more. I'm
clear.
sure it's more than he did for most employees.
Yeah, and I think it's so sweet that he
That's
had the
so
kids
sweet.
bring you plates of food too. And I don't think I could eat in front of Michael Jackson. I don't.
I know.
So I get that. So okay, so let's go back to the very first time that you met Mr. Michael Jackson and the kids. This is a question from Melissa Peralta. What was your first impression? Like, I know that you got the mysterious phone call and you got the interview, but when you actually were there in his presence and you met the kids, what were you thinking? What was going on in your head?
I was really nervous at the time. Like, oh my God, so this is Mr. Jackson. So, and he was, yeah, he was, yeah, okay. Let's say that he was really so good looking. He was so handsome with the three children, and they were in their school uniforms, and they were really good looking. So I was so nervous at that time. I didn't know what to do, and I was praying that I wouldn't faint, and I was like hoping that they couldn't feel or hear the nervousness in my voice. But
Oh,
I think I did a pretty good job at the time. I was able to last that day. I lasted that day. So yeah,
good.
it was. Yeah, what I've told you. His presence really is. Um, it's really like there's something in his presence that you cannot explain. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I know there's something in his presence if you're in front of him. But that was because that was the first time actually. But then as this goes by, um, yeah,
Wow.
like there were times that I forgot that he was Mr. Jackson already because I see him all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And his Donald Duck shirt. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's sweet. So I think you covered a little bit of this, but this is a question by Melissa Perella. She had a couple questions. Did Michael help the kids with schoolwork? What happens if the kids did poorly with homework, quizzes, seat work? Did you witness Michael being a disciplinarian to his children?
There were actually the kids were really very good, so they had really high grades and they were fast learners, and I didn't have any problems with that.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I tried to explain the lessons really well, so they were able to get that. Being a disciplinarian, oh, there was this one time in Ireland when it was like after school. I was out from my room and I saw blanket outside the house. And I was like, Blanket, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Get inside. And he was like, no, I can't get in. I said, why? I said, because I'm here because I did something bad. I said, what? What did you do? And then he didn't say anything. And I just found out that it was like a timeout. He
Uh,
was he was asked to go there to reflect on what he did. I
Oh.
know. So yeah, you could see that he was also a disciplinarian because at that time, no, also at that age, um, like he was like 5 at the time. Like you know how playful a child could get at that time. So I think he
Yeah.
did something. I did ask because
Yeah.
he's about to cry. He was about to cry. So I did ask any
Ah.
further questions.
Well,
And it was like, and it was like, come on, you get inside. She said, no, dad won't let me go get inside. I said, okay. And I said, no, I have to step back or else, Mr. Jackson will get mad at me. So I just left. And then I can't meddle with that. It's parenting. So it was just him. This was blanket. Yeah.
So-
So I left and yeah, I just left blanket there. And I think after like maybe 2 or 3 minutes, he was asked to get inside. So
Mhm.
yeah.
so he
Well, it's pretty
disciplined
cute.
his children as well.
In your book, you describe,
Oh.
the kids were really well behaved, but there was that one chapter where you call it the lapse of judgment, I guess, the one where Prince he was like, Daddy said I can have the day off today or no school today. That was really
I
cute.
know. I know.
So
I
funny.
know. Yeah, I didn't know why Prince did that, or maybe he was just tired during that day, and he didn't like really think that if he does that, Mr. Jackson would find out. Like
Yeah,
it was not maybe. I know. So yeah, they were just young at that
super
time,
cute
but
though. I mean, who hasn't
I
gone
think
to school?
he learned his lessons well. So
Just
yeah,
like just like any other kid, just like any other
I
regular
know.
kid.
Yeah,
Tried it for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Well, I know that you already kind of covered some of this, your favorite memory of Michael, but do you have a favorite memory of the kids? Is there anything that you can share with us that you really treasure thinking back on them, the three of them?
Oh, every day I could say that every school day is a very
Oh.
memorable. Yes, every school day because there are no two two school days are really
Yeah.
different. So yeah, there's always something going on in the class. So yes, I could say maybe maybe there was this time I think it's also in the book that when we were doing PE in Vegas,
Oh.
like we had to do this jog, just a laps like around the pool in Monte Cristo in Vegas, and we were so tired, and we stopped, and then Mr. Jackson saw us, and then he said faster, and we cracked up, and we laughed so hard, and we continued running like jogging around the pool. So actually, as a teacher, I didn't really have to run or to jog with them because it's their exercise. But it's just me personally. I want to do it with them. Like
Wow.
yeah, I want to do everything with them. So if they need to jog outside when the weather was so hot and yeah, so I have to do it with them. Even though it was so cold and it was freezing outside, I did it with them because I want them to know that I was there like every step of the way with them.
Aw.
So
Oh.
yeah, so every day was special to me, and and I was even told at that time that Miss Aileen, you're so lucky because you get to spend a lot of time with the children. Can you imagine from 8 to 3, 8 to 3 every day? So they were
Yes.
just, they just told me that you're so lucky that you get to spend like most of the time with them. So and then I
Yeah.
said yes, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was such a wonderful time that at the time, I didn't know that I was making memories with them. I was all I
Mm.
knew was that I was just enjoying every day with them,
Mhm.
and they're very sweet kids and sweet children, well mannered, very polite, and yeah,
I mean, you were so
Mr. Jackson did a
committed.
great job.
Yeah, you took your job so seriously. And yeah, we know Michael, he did a great job with his kids. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
we're hearing it more and more just through your book. I mean, we already knew, but now we really know the
Mhm.
details.
How serious he was
Is
about.
Yeah, and is there anything that you wish that you had put into your book? Like, is there anything that happened or anything that you thought of later that you wish that you had put into the book? Or is there anything that wasn't in your book that you wish was in your book?
Oh, actually, honestly speaking, the book is actually, I mean, one book is not enough for my experience
Oh,
for three
Okay.
years. It's not enough. And when I was like, when we were about to print the book, I was just like, oh my God, what happened? Like we were at this moment, and I said, I didn't include that in the book. Like there were so many, there were so many things that were not included in the book.
oh,
But yeah, I said I could just share it on my social media page, and they can just look up there. And even now, the pictures or the photos of, for example, the one in Ireland where we stayed in Ireland, I keep on posting that on my Facebook page and Instagram IG page so that they would visualize more about the stories in my book. So
wow.
yeah, there's more actually.
Well, we'll be sure to we'll be sure to post your Instagram and your Facebook to this broadcast so that everyone can check that out. But hey, maybe there might be another book later. Maybe there
Oh,
maybe,
You'll forget.
let's see.
Okay, so next question is also from Melissa Peralta. As you got to know and interact with Michael more and more, what surprised you the most about him?
I'm sorry, what's the?
Sorry, what as you got to interact with Michael more and more, what was the most surprising thing? What was the most what was it about him that surprised you the most?
Um, that time at first I thought he was really serious, but he was funny. Mr. Jackson was was funny. There were times when oh my goodness, there was this time we were actually we went to a museum, and then he would tell us jokes, and sometimes there were times when you could still see like the price tag of the or the price tag of his shirt, and I was like, Mr. Jackson, please let's take it off. And yeah, there were times like also when we were at the airport, and before we as you can see, like they have to check everything. Like you have to take off your belt, you have to take off your shoes, and you have to pass through that machine, it's like an X-ray machine, right? And there was one time I was behind him, and my laptop was there on that rail, and then I was with Prince and Paris, and then Mr. Jackson was in front of us, and he got his shoe and put it on the top of my laptop, and he didn't know that it was my laptop. And Prince was like, "Oh my God, Miss Aileen, goodbye laptop," because like we thought it was already damaged because he put it so hard because he was in a hurry going to that machine, but he didn't really. He didn't really do it in purpose, though. He didn't know that it was my laptop because we have to put all the gadgets and everything, right? Like when you pass through, you go through that machine, the X-ray machine. And he was kind of funny, and there were times when, yeah, he would just say jokes. Um, yeah, there were many funny moments with Mr. Jackson. I thought he was serious at first. He was because he was a strict disciplinarian, but then he was human too. It was just like you and me. He has his funny moments too.
Aww.
So one thing I could tell you, he's really normal. He was a regular person. He's just a regular person, just like you and me. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Aww.
Well, we know that a lot of the fans in the chat, they're saying, "Oh, we can't get enough of you. We could listen to you all day." We're excited to hear more about your stories on your social media, and a part 2 would be great. Now, you've shared so many amazing things about the children and their father, and who knows who might be watching today. Prince Paris and Blanket BG may be watching, or they may come across us, who knows. If they were here right now, if they were in front of you right now, and if you knew they were watching, what would you like to say to them? What message do you have for them?
Here we go again.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, I just want to tell them that I am proud of them and I miss them so much. And yeah, I think I just have to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
No
Yeah.
problem.
that's okay.
That's okay. It's fine. And it's a big question, really.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And you know what? You have in your book, you have those open letters to them, so that's very
good. That's good.
Yeah. So DC Jackson has a question here. Okay, so we already got what was. Okay, so from your observations, what things did Michael enjoy doing the most besides spending time with his kids and creating music? Is there anything? I think you mentioned reading. I'm not sure if there's anything else.
Yeah, I think those are just the things that he liked. He liked to bond with his children and yeah, just play with them, watch movies. Yeah.
Okay.
Have that other questions the same.
Okay. I think we can skip the next one because we got that one already, right? Let's see. How about we go to DZ's last question? So Michael did a lot of very kind things to you, for you, was very generous. Did you ever see him do anything kind to another person, maybe within the household, anyone else that was working for him, or even anyone outside of the household that really deeply touched you? Any like act of kindness that he did that really like surprised you, impressed you, and touched your heart?
I think the time when I mentioned about the Thanksgiving thing, yeah, it was so thoughtful of him to think about us and to think about us spending time with our family during Thanksgiving. And yeah, I think that one, yeah.
Yeah. And another part of this question, to you, did he seem happy? Like in general, just when you're around him, did he seem happy?
As what I have observed, yes, I felt that he was genuinely happy at the time. And yeah, especially when we were still in Ireland. I genuinely feel that he was happy at that time. And when he was in UN, when he was back, and we were back in US, he was kind of busy a bit, so I'm not so sure at the time.
You were out there running laps with the kids, so
I know.
you were busy too.
I know.
Oh, well, I think that's all the fan questions, Tammy, right?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
Wow.
Are there any from the YouTube or whatever? I'm not sure if there's any.
I think everyone's crying and gushing and saying, wow, and this is amazing. I didn't see a lot of questions. I think everyone got a lot of their questions asked already.
Do you have any favorite things you want to talk about him? Just some more things you want to share, or were there some important things you wanted to talk about?
I think I have, covered everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really just want to tell the world how kind he was. And I just hope that through my book, they would get to know the real Mr. Jackson. And I was just really praying that I would be able to convey my message really well to the readers, so they can get anything they want from my story. And that's it. I just want to let the people know who he was as a father, as a boss, and a regular person, because I do believe, guys, you deserve to know the truth, because there has been a lot of negative narratives going on, not only this year, for decades. And I just hope that I did my part as well.
Absolutely. And I think the fans who are commenting now and bringing up questions, you're just going to have to read the book to get the answers to those questions, because I see
Yeah.
the questions you're bringing up are in the book. They're answered in the book. So you'll have to read it, and you'll get a lot more details than what we covered here. And everyone's just saying thank you, and thank you for taking the time. Bless you. You did a great job, Miss Aileen. The Donald Duck shirt in the book made me smile so much. Everything, and if you guys missed parts of it, you can always go back. This is going to be recorded on YouTube and Facebook, so don't worry. You can go back and replay it. But we
You
just
did
want to say
amazing
thank
job.
you. We just
Yeah.
want to say, on behalf of the Michael Jackson Book Club, thank goodness you were so diligent in taking those notes back in the day and recording, just chronicling your journey with Michael and his children and your travels. We're so grateful to you for being able to do that and for putting everything together in these last couple years so that we can enjoy it and kind of live through you and see what he was like in those days, in those final years. Those are the lost years in the fan community, and any bit of information that we can grab, we're just so happy to learn.
Especially that we can see through your book that he had such love with his family, and he was happy in Ireland, and he had those times with you, and that's just such an amazing book. It brings us through that, your experience with him, and it's beautiful. It really was a beautiful experience.
Yeah, and the way you described his purity, his pure heart, that's been so consistent across the board with all of these interviews that we've done. Everyone says the same exact thing, and that's how we know it's true, Yeah. And we really thank you so much for doing this with us. And everyone's saying thank you. Your book is a masterpiece. Thank you for writing the book. These are all the comments coming in. So we really appreciate
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for this opportunity as well. And I'm so happy to meet you, Stephanie and Tammy, and everybody watching.
Yeah,
absolutely. So we post the link to your book, and we will also post your social media link so that everyone can get to learn a little bit more. Okay.
And it's now available on Kindle as well, so it's an e-reader as well. So that's a new development. So that's good. So everybody can get it.
Yeah, because we have so many people from around the world, and shipping is difficult now in COVID times, and so an ebook was a great idea.
Yeah.
So thank you for that too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, Tammy, are we ready to wrap up?
Yeah, we'll see you in about 2 seconds, Aileen, in the back.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, everyone. Have a good evening, a good morning, or a good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.